Welcome to your 2026 Ventana walkthrough in the floor plan 3809. If you come up here to the cockpit area, we'll get started on the controls in this area. This is your equalizer leveling system for your coach. Before you put your coach in the leveling mode, either manual or auto, you want to make sure that your slide rooms are already out. And in order to do that, you want to be on air ride suspension. So you want to be completely aired up, then run your rooms out. And then you would be able to come here to the equalizer system's touchpad to do your leveling. So you'll have to have the ignition key on to accessories. Once that's on, you'll be able to hit the power button and you'll be able to see that your ignition is on. Before you auto level, you'll want to make sure that underneath the coach, there's nothing that's off level to the point where there would be a large object. And then you would be able to come in here and then just press the auto level button. You'll be able to hear the jacks going down. You can see the LED here is operating. Independent of the auto level are the manual buttons that you can adjust manually here. Just a note while it's leveling is you can actually get online and you can get the app to see what your coach is doing with leveling, and you'll be able to connect to your touchpad with the Bluetooth. You can see the coach is moving as the coach is getting more level. If for some reason you were in an area that was too far off level, that the jacks would not be able to level, you'll see this LED light for excessive slope, and then you would have to move to a different area for leveling to take place. All right, you can see now the LED went out for operating. All of your jacks are down. So now you can turn off your ignition. Your leveling is complete. Then you can power it down. And then your procedure to bring the jacks back up is the same. You would power it up with the ignition on. And then you would just simply hit all retract. So you can see here, all the jacks are retracted. If we had started our ignition, we would be on air ride suspension right now, and then we could run all of the slide outs back to the in position. When you're finished, then all you have to do is hit the power button, and that turns the system off. So as we move forward to the next set of controls here, we have our ATC override. That's our traction control. The traction control switch is just a press to turn it off. You can see now in the display screen on the glass dash, the TC or traction control is off. If we press it again, the traction control will be on. That just gives us better traction in slippery conditions. This is our air horn switch. Our air horn is either going to be street horn, or if we have it forward, that's our air horn. So the USB auxiliary inputs for the radio, the dash radio, are here. We can open that up and we can plug accessories in here to the USB and the auxiliary, and that will connect into our Excite radio. Here we have our light switch. Headlights, that's our marker lights, and that's our headlight there. This is the fog light indicator here. Above that is our mirrors, left mirror adjust and right mirror adjust. Once you set it to the left or right, when you press it, that's what turns it in that direction, left, right, up and down. Once you adjust the mirrors for the left, go over to the passenger side, which is right, adjust those before you drive. If you have any moisture or fog or ice on the mirror, you can just turn the heat on the mirror and that will melt it or defrost it before you drive. You won't need to have the heat on if it's clear. You can just leave it off. Above me is the dome light. This is the switch for the dome light. This is a battery boost switch. The battery boost switch can help you if either set of your batteries is running low. Let's say your chassis batteries were a little bit low and you wanted to boost the chassis batteries so you could start your engine. If you press and hold the battery boost down, it will, in about 60 seconds, it will be able to give you that boost. So you just want to press and hold that down for about a minute and then go ahead and start your engine. The same goes for boosting the house batteries. You can press and hold it down towards the house for about a minute and you can boost your house batteries. And that might be something that you would need to do if the house batteries were low and you needed the inverter to wake up and charge the batteries. So you'd have to hold that down for about a minute. Just below that, we have our charger for your phone. And beside that, we have our louver here for the vent, AC, and heat. Moving down here to the side of the column, there's a small button switch here. That switch and that small button, if you press it, it will enable you to reset the door handle entrance code, the Trimark handle. And once you press that and you go outside, you'll enter your new code twice, and that will reset your code for the coach entrance door. We'll go over that a little bit more detail. Up here we have our turn signal, left and right. When we go to the left turn signal, our left camera comes on. It's our right turn signal indicator here. Our right camera goes on. The wiper is on the same handle. If you need to spray, this is the spray button. You press it in, and the arrow here indicates the intermittent for the dots. And to have the wipers on low is this straight line, and the double line, if I move it up to that, is the wipers on fast speed. It's also the dimmer switch. If you look here at the front, I can go bright or dim. And down near the floor, there's a pedal. That pedal, if you press it with your left foot, it's going to give you the ability to adjust your wheel. So you can tilt it up and down, or it can telescope down or back up. It also is a way that you can just push the wheel up out of your way. When you release the pedal, it locks into that position. So press it, adjust where you want, and once you release, the wheel is locked and the column's locked in that position. We've got the ignition on right now, so our glass dash is lit up. This is the control to scroll through the center, and we'll get to that in a second. The first gauge on the left is your RPM gauge, your motor RPM. The menu screen is the one in the center, and this is the control for it. We have a park brake indicator. Our park brake is set right now. Our park brake is here on the right side. So anytime this parking brake is pulled towards you, this park brake indicator is going to show that it's on. If I put my foot on the brake and press, you can see it releases and it goes out. Always want to have the park brake towards you, pulled on, and you can see that indicating the park brake is set when you're not in motion or you want to stop the coach and let anyone out. You always want to have the parking brake set. This is our miles per hour gauge, our light indicator gauge, and lane warning. Temperature gauge on the bottom left. Drive shift or gear indicator in the center of the tachometer. Oil pressure. Fuel. And our tank pressures here, front and rear tank for our airbags. There's distance to empty on the bottom right here and the voltage of your chassis battery. So let's take a look at the menu. If we go into the home screen here, that's going to be this menu that's displaying. The up and down arrows will help you go into each one of those individually and make settings. We're on the Mobileye right now, so if we press the center button OK, we're going to see the selection we've made. We can change our headway warning distance of the Mobileye. We can have the intelligent high beams so that they dim or bright automatically, so you don't have to do it manually here. Lane departure warnings can be set. If I select that with OK, let's say I don't want to have any lane departure warnings, I can scroll up, and once I highlight disabled, if I press the OK button for just a few seconds and then release, it will show disabled. So you can enable settings and you can disable settings, or you can change the sensitivity of them. So if we want to scroll back with the back arrow instead of the home screen, it just goes back one screen instead of going all the way back to the home screen. So if you want to just go back to the Mobileye settings, you can do that. Or if you want to go back to the main menu screen, that's when you press the home button here. Road watch, for instance, if we take a look at the road watch, that's our cruise control. Tire pressure, we press the OK. Now we can see all the pressures and the temperatures of our tires. Trip, steering effort. Currently, the steering effort is set to our favorites button. Our favorites button is right here. So if we were, say, in our road watch and we were setting our cruise, we can set it to an adaptive cruise. So what does that do? It slows the coach down if there's a vehicle in front of you, and then when that vehicle's out of the way, it speeds back up to the setting that you made here on the right side. So you'll set the speed you want on the right cluster, and you can set the adaptive cruise in case there's a vehicle that comes in front of you. Your coach will slow down. When that vehicle's gone, then it will speed up to what you made the setting on the right. So if we exit out of that one, I'll scroll all the way down. You can see there's more vehicle settings. There's even a diagnostic screen. You can go into the diagnostic screen. For instance, press OK. Now we can see if there were faults. It gives transmission information, even your radar alignment for your adaptive cruise. The two buttons, plus and minus, beside the menu is volume up and down. Of course, the center is the horn. Moving over to the right cluster, this is your cruise control and your telephone. If your phone is set to Bluetooth and it's connected to the radio, you'll be able to use these two buttons to make telephone calls. If the radio is playing and you want silence during that call, you can just press this button and it will cancel the volume off completely, audio off. The center button is going to cancel your cruise. The one that says set will set your cruise. The one that's showing RES is resume or plus. And the top one is turning the cruise on and off. The button here on the side, on the right side, is just to flash your marker lights here. That just, when you're driving, or if you need to flash your lights to let another driver know that you're passing or that you're in the vicinity, you can flash your lights here. The handle on the right side is several functions. The one that you can see here towards the inside is your engine brake. So the engine brake, you can see it display here on the dash. If I turn it on, that's going to assist, the engine's going to assist me in slowing down. That's good if you're going down mountains or down steep inclines. The engine will help slow the coach so you don't have to apply so much braking power on your brake pedal. Off is up. If you want to manually shift this, as you are driving, you can do that just by moving this handle towards you, but you have to go into this setting here and press M to go into manual shifting. Otherwise, it's going to be automatic. It's automatic, and then to set it to drive or reverse, you want to press the brake pedal with your right foot, of course, and then you would go into drive. Right now it's inhibited because we don't have the engine started, but that's neutral. And then reverse. Once we set it to drive or reverse, then we would release the parking brake here and then release our foot pedal to drive or reverse. When we come to a stop, we have our foot on the brake. We pull our parking brake and set it and put the shifter back in neutral. On the right side of your steering column is your emergency flashers. When you press, it will turn them on. When you're finished, you can just press it again and release. That turns them off. Moving over here to your radio and your camera screen, you have a selection on the left-hand side of menu, which is your main menu, or you can jump straight to navigation, and then, of course, dim and favorites. Currently, we've set the favorite screen up to the Sirius XM. This can be turned on and off if you come into the coach and it's just that dark screen. Just press and release, and you can hear it kind of made a tone or a beep, and it's coming on. And it takes you to the main menu. So here at the main menu, you can see that there's a radio icon, and this, of course, goes to the radio screen. We mentioned the switch here for the speaker cancellation here if you want to just turn that volume off while you're driving, or you can adjust that volume here. Beside the radio, we have our media center. We have our Sirius XM beside that, and of course that was set to our favorites. Bluetooth, you would want to press this button and make sure your phone is turned, the Bluetooth is turned on in your phone if you want to use the radio to play music from your phone, or if you wanted to make a telephone call on your phone through the steering column, you would need to press that and then connect to your phone before you could make those calls or play your own music from your phone. The HDMI selection here to plug in over here on our left. There's the auxiliary plug, which we showed you on our left, and the camera control. When we press the camera control, you'll view that on the right. So if I go to the front camera here, that's going to show our front camera. This is our rear camera, and in addition to the rear view, we can select distance on that camera. So we can go to the closest setting, medium, or the furthest away setting. The other selections are here on the right. Shows split screen, all angles, front, rear, and sides, just sides and rear, and 360 here. We could get a better view here if we take a look. So you can see here, now we can see all around the coach if we go to the 360. This screen, you can go into the settings and change the brightness if you like. For dimming, up and down, just press these arrows for brighter or dimmer. Back to the menu screen. Beside the camera control is your iPod, and then the navigation. You can get to the navigation either through the menu or just shortcut right here to navigation. It goes to the same screen. Once you're there, you'll have to accept the terms to use it. Once you've accepted it, you're ready to make a selection, multi-point routes. There's a, for shopping, nothing is showing up because we're inside of a building. We scroll back. This is the main menu for navigation, and then we can choose a route, and we can put a destination in. If we've got addresses or saved locations, we can just use those. Here we can see some selections here that you can scroll into. And then we have our setup, and you can just refer to your operator's manual to go into your setup. There's 2 pages. This is the first page. To get to the second page, you just press the second page, and now we're in page 2. If you need to turn this screen off, the power button at the top, and of course we showed you how to turn this one off, is just press this button here and release. The instrument cluster below those screens are the visor and shade controls. On my left, up and down at the front. Now you'll notice that I pressed it to go down and it didn't go down. That's because the ignition key is on. If I have the ignition off, then I'll be able to run the shade down. It's a safety function, a safety feature that Newmar has, where if you're driving and someone presses the shade to go down, it will only go up. The overhead fan switch will only operate if the ignition is on. You can see the light is illuminated. The overhead fans will help circulate air in the cockpit area or help defrost the windshield if you're operating the HVAC system. There are speeds that you can set for the fans, high, medium, and low here. The first one, the rocker switch below that, is generator start. To start the generator, just press and hold. You can see that flashing light means it's priming and preheating because it's a diesel. And our generator is on now. To stop it, we just press the stop button. This fan switch is not the same as the one up here for the overhead fans. This is the fan for down below here. There's a core that will blow heat out. There's a fan that will blow if we turn this on and the ITR Oasis is turned on. The ITR Oasis is your burner for your furnace. So once that heats up, we can turn this on and we'll have heat coming from down near the floor area there. That's separate from the heat that you would get up in the dash area. That's controlled by these switch here. These switches are your HVAC for air conditioning and heat in the cockpit. The one below is for the entire coach if we turn on the ITR Oasis. The switch beside that one is the entrance door lock and unlock. And this is just a blank switch here. To operate the HVAC, we have to have the ignition on, engine running. We can set the fan speeds here. And then we can control the temperature in the center. The LED light that's on right now is for recirculating. You can press it again. If you don't want the air to recirculate, then it will pull some air, fresh air from the outside. The one below that is for the air conditioning. This is a snowflake, so that would be for cooling. Press that, the blue LED light comes on, and then you can adjust your temperature all the way cold or in the mid-range. Or heat, all the way hot. The other settings on the last dial here are for defrost or a mix. Floor, the one in the center here, blow out on these dash ports on left and right and center. And then below that are additional charging ports here and here. USB, USB-C, and 12 volt. Below that we have cup holder. And below that is our storage drawer. So we touched on the shade, and the shade always going up if the ignition is on. And you'll notice we have the shade up right now, but you can bring it down if the ignition is on, but it will only come down halfway. Let's demonstrate that. So if we move the shade down with the ignition on, the ignition key is on, it stops right there. And if the key was off and the shade was in a lower position, once the key is turned on, even if I press the shade to go down, it will not. It will only go up. That's our safety feature that we have. So in case you're driving, you can only operate the shade to the halfway point. Once we turn the key off, then we'll be able to operate it in any position. So when you first enter the coach or you're exiting, we have placed a light switch for all lights off here. For when you're exiting, you can turn all the lights off. When you're entering the coach, if you just want to turn your ceiling lights on, you can do that just pressing it up. All lights off will be down. So here at the entrance, when you first come in your coach, if everything was off and you wanted to power up and have your lights come on and operate inside, you'll need to turn your battery disconnect on. Once the battery disconnect is on, the red light will show, and then you can turn on your lights and or other functions in the coach. The one beside it is the baggage lock and unlock. Below that, at the bottom near the floor, is your fire extinguisher. The fire extinguisher has a quick release right here, the black strap. Just push down and you can remove your fire extinguisher. Above that, we have our cup holder and our step cover switch. Step cover switch is going to allow you to stand where I'm at on a step cover. It will completely cover this area so that if you're wanting to have a complete floor, you're parked and you're not going in and out of the coach, you can extend that cover and it will match the floor level. It's also a nice feature for when you're traveling. So that will support you and your weight, and when you're ready to exit the coach again, just go in the opposite direction with the step cover switch. It will drop and retract. Just hold it until it shuts off. Now you can release. The switch beside it is the map light. The map light is overhead, on and off. And the patio light. We can't see that, but that's your patio light. Also operates the light in the stepwell along with the patio light outside. Behind that is another phone charger, and above that is a buddy screen. This screen is just a mirror of the driver's screen and what he sees, and it gives the passenger the ability to help navigate. So you can go into the navigation screen here and first power it up, and then we can go into the navigation screen and we can assist with navigation directions or setting up the directions for navigation. We can also go into the camera screen and help with the camera selection settings or in views. To move this screen in a position that the passenger would like to view, you just loosen this handle here, and then you can turn it and move it where you want, and then just tighten it back where you like the position setting. Then you can store it back away and retighten it. To adjust our seat, we sit down and we have several positions here and controls. The main one is forward and back and tilt, and that tilts the base. I can manually tilt the back here, or I have my lumbar and my footrest here. There's an armrest here. The armrest is adjustable on both sides. There's a small gap in the center here that has a lift lever. So if I lift that lever up and change the setting, just release it, now I have a little bit higher setting. If I want to just move it up and out of the way, just lift up and press it out of the way. There's another lever on the right side of the seat which releases the seat so I can rotate it around to the living room area. If I lift that lever, I can rotate the seat as long as my seat is far enough forward. And now I can use the seat in the living room area. When I'm finished, I want to make sure that my armrest is clear. Just rotate the seat back and you'll hear it lock in place. The driver's seat, it has the same controls except that the footrest will not extend when you're driving. So we're here at the driver cockpit seat, and in the overhead are additional controls. and we'll go over these controls just to give you the name. This is your energy management, awning, slide out controls for both sides of the coach, inverter settings and view, awning control, and security lights and exterior step switch. So starting with the one here in the center, you'll notice here this is our power control system, and it will tell us what we're connected to for our shore cord, what amperage we have available, and it will give more details on load shedding. Its job is to manage your energy that's coming in, and it will disable certain things that won't operate because you might be on a cord or that's smaller than a 50 amp. Newmar recommends 50 amp, but in this case, we can notice here that our power source is only 30 amps because let's say you may have a need to park somewhere where you don't have 50 amp service. Let's say we plugged into a 20 amp cord. This display is always going to show 30, even though we're plugged into a smaller size cord. So you don't want your system to be tripping that 20 amp breaker. So we need to, as it says, press set to change. So that center button here will go and change it to 20 amp. Now we won't trip that breaker that's on the pole because we've matched our power setting to what we're plugged into. So now we're going to go ahead and plug the coach back into 50 amp and show you that display. So now we've gone out and we've put the shore cord back to a 50 amp service, and you can see here it's displaying what's available now is 50 amp service. And that's what we recommend, but if you do plug into something smaller, be sure to come in here, go into the settings, and lower it down to that setting because it's always going to show 30, but you might be plugged into 25 or 15 amp, and then you have to go in and change it below that. It only recognizes the lowest as a 30. So that's why you need to go into settings and make those changes. As you scroll up or down, you'll notice that you can see what might be or what loads might be shed. Right now there's 0 loads shed. Load status, it shows everything that's on, block heater, water heater, and even though it's on, it may not be cycled on because maybe the temperature setting on that water heater is not calling for more heat, so it's going to show 0 amps even though it's actually showing it's on. So the amperage on the side here is the key. If you see an amperage like this 7 amp is showing on the block heater, that's actually heating. It's actually on because it's drawing 7 amps. Our air conditioners are on, but they're not drawing any amps, so they're available to run. If we're plugged into that smaller shore cord and there's not enough power, this would say, instead of on, it would say shed. And this is our line status. Line 1 is showing we have 119 volts available and we're using 1 amp. Line 2 is showing 117 volts and we have 24 amps that are being used on line 2. The total of the amperage draw on both lines is 25 amps. So this will tell you what's available. It will tell you what loads are being shed and what status of power, how many amps are being used. So moving over to the next control, this is our awning control that we can open and close the Girard awnings from the inside. If you're going to do that, we recommend someone be outside. There is a remote control that you can use if you're standing outside, but this control will do the same thing. You'll notice there are 2 awnings, main patio awnings. If you want to operate both at the same time, press the channel button again and it will go to 0. That means you're going to operate both awnings at the same time. So we can open and close, out, in, and stop. There is also an LED for lights. There's a strip of LED lights on the awning. If we want to lock the awning so it won't open and close, we can press the lock button, but then we'll have to unlock it to operate it. Moving over here to the left, these are the slide outs, the slide rooms on both sides of the coach, in and out for both. Before you operate your slide outs, you want to make sure that your driver and passenger seat are forward. That's very important because you want to have clearance whether you're running the slide in or out. Make sure that your driver and passenger seat and any objects in the inside or outside of the coach are clear from that movement. Another thing that you'd want to do is make sure that the reveal gap is about 3/16 of an inch on either side or bottom of the Z-trim to fascia. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but we just want to make sure that where the room is moving, there's nothing in the way, and we have plenty of distance between that reveal. If you don't, we want to move the coach to a more level area. This touch panel screen is for our inverter. Our pages main screen will show what the grid is doing, what the charge is doing. It's an absorption charge now, what the AC loads are, if there are loads on the inverter. Right now there aren't because we're plugged into shore power and it's using shore power instead of using inverter energy that comes from the batteries. And then in the bottom page, it's showing our wattages and our voltages. Now, if I touch the screen, I can go to the menu or just back to this page. So if I go into the menu, now I can select inverter 1. If I do that, I can go now into settings and I can view what it's doing, what the state of charge. I can scroll up and down. I can see what my AC voltages are coming in on both lines. I can view alarm statuses and I can do setups. I can scroll back. Do I have any notifications? No. If I did, it would show them. We can also go then into settings. I can change dates, times, and do a system setup. Languages, Wi-Fi, create an access point, Bluetooth it if I want to Bluetooth. So I can actually view from my phone on Bluetooth what the inverter is doing if I like, or via Wi-Fi, either way. If I click on the pages selection, I just go back to the home screen or the main screen. There's a lot of information in here, and that's covered in your operator's guide for your Victron inverter. So we recommend you read that. And just a note that if you're wanting to use this as the control and settings and changing those, you'll need to turn the switch. There's a black switch that you can notice in the middle of that inverter picture, but downstairs where the inverter is, that rocker switch, that black switch, has to be turned towards inverter and on in order for this switch to work. So if it's turned down just to charger, then you won't be able to use this panel. So if you don't see this displaying, this panel's not working, it's likely set just to charge only. You'll have to go downstairs, turn the inverter on, and then you can use this panel. Just to the right is our awning, open and close for our door awning. And then beside that, we have our security lights here and our exterior step, which overrides the opening and closing of the door, step opening and closing with the door. If we want to just make sure the steps stay out all the time, even though our door is open or closed, then we can override the step and just leave the steps out. Last thing we'll mention here is there is a decal that is labeled Solar Prep. That's behind this panel. So if you wanted to add your solar system and panel here, you could do that. And it's pre-wired behind this panel going up to the roof. So it's prepped and ready. So our next overhead cabinet here in the center is just storage, along with this one. On the wall, there are two controls here. We'll get to the television over-the-air antenna, but the one above it is for the bed lift. The bed lift above me will come down so you can have a bed here at the front of the coach, but you want to make sure these seats are down, both driver and passenger seat. This is the lock and unlock. So if you want to leave it in the lock position, you can actually take the key, remove it so that no one can operate the lift. But to operate it, you'll need to have the key in and turn to the unlock position. And now we can lower the bed or raise it. So I will demonstrate that with both of the capstan's chairs lowered. And it automatically comes to a stop at its lowest point. So once it's in the down position, there are two latch points here for the ladder. So you'll get the ladder. This was stored underneath the bed in the bedroom. Now you can use that to get up onto the bed. When you're finished and ready to store it, it's just the opposite. Take the ladder off and store it. Turn our key to unlock and press the arrow going up. And once the bed comes to a complete stop, we just release the button. Now you can make slight adjustments if you want. If you just start and stop, if you release the button, it stops. There is an access point here underneath this cover. The motor is located here. In the event of a power failure and you wanted to stow the bunk away back in the up position, there is a on the side of the motor, there is a access point for an Allen head screw, and that can be turned and you can move the bed lift manually. To find the instructions on how to do that, they are found in our website called Noogle. So just below the bed lift control is our Winegard over-the-air antenna control. This is a power antenna that rotates inside a dome on top of the roof. It's automatic. It'll automatically scan for channels when it's turned on. So it's going into the scanning process now. We're in a building, so unfortunately it is not showing that it found any channels, but if you're parked outside, it'll display the number of channels that you have found. If you want to go through another search just to make sure you didn't miss any channels, you can hit the search button again and it will scan for additional channels. And if you are locked onto a channel and watching TV, but you want to make a slight adjustment to the antenna, you can do that, rotate it left or rotate right. When this is on, you're only going to be able to watch over-the-air TV. You won't be able to watch cable unless you turn this off. Once you turn that off, then you'll be able to watch the cable TV, and we'll show you where that cable plug is at the cord reel. But just remember, to watch cable, you'll have to scan those channels just like you would have to scan over-the-air TV as well. This needs to be off to watch cable. As we move into the living room, we've got our fireplace, our TV lift, and overhead cabinets, our Bose speaker on top, storage compartment, AV cabinet, audio-visual controls. Newmar labels each of the cables that are in here. One's for satellite and one's for the Blu-ray DVD. The plug for your satellite is in the back along with 120 volt outlets so that you can plug those DVD players or receivers in right here and stack them. There is a remote control for the Bose speaker. If you use that, it is Bluetooth compatible to your telephone or smart device. And more storage over here and down below on both sides. The fireplace has a remote control to turn on and off, and it is an actual heating fireplace if we turn it on. So once we press the top center button on, we can go in to change the settings here on the left and the right. Temperature up and down. Different colors, and the top one is the flame speed setting. Temperature up or down is here. You can see our temperature settings going up or down, and there is a timer at the bottom. We can set this to shut off hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5, and various settings. So this is actually a heating fireplace, and if we do shut it off or turn it off, this will continue to blow until the heat is dissipated. So if you still feel it blowing, that's normal. Even though it's off, it'll turn off automatically when it's cooled down. The remote control for the TV is a Samsung remote. We're operating the TV lift up from the touchpad control. You can use the touchpad here at the theater seating or at the midpoint of the coach or even in the bedroom. All the controls will lift the TV up for you. Once we have the TV lift up, we can turn it on in the upper left corner. Once we have the TV turned on, if we're going to watch over-the-air TV, we'll need to scan for those channels, or cable. You still have to scan for those channels. And again, if you're going to watch over-the-air TV, you'd want your WineGuard television antenna on, and to watch cable, you have to make sure that it's off. We'll use our remote control to go to the home screen, press the home button in the center. That gets to this screen, and then this icon here is our selection for menu. So just toggle over to the left here and go to settings. So you'd have to scroll down to settings, then press the center button here, and now scroll over to all settings. And what we're going to do is we're going to scan for channels. If we scroll down here to broadcasting, then we select that. Press the center button again, and we go through auto program to find the channels. So press auto program, and we want to press the start to auto program. We have to have our over-the-air WineGuard turned on, and once that's on, then we're going to scan for air channels. Yes, and it'll go through the scan and it'll show us how many channels it found. "39 channels." So we can either scan again, or we can go to our different settings or just close. You'll have to scan the same way with the Winegard antenna off if you want to watch the cable channels. So if you want to scan for cable, turn the over-the-air antenna off and then scan again for your cable channels if you have part cable available and want to watch cable. Now we should be able to connect with a channel here. Yes. To go back to the home screen and scan for cable, scroll left, back to settings, to the right, all settings, broadcasting, auto program, and this time we're plugged into cable, we've turned our over-the-air Winegard off, and now we can scan for the cable channels. Obviously, since we are not plugged into cable, we won't pick up any, but that's how you would scan for the cable. And you'll have to scan for channels for each TV location, whether it's out here or in the bedroom. And to turn your TV off, it's the same one in the upper left corner. So if you look at our ceiling, this is the HVAC system where the air comes out for heating and cooling, but it's also for return air and filtration. So this is a service point that you'll need to maintain. To do that, you can reach up on the edge of this drop down and pull down, and the magnets will release, and you'll see the discharge air for heating and cooling from your heat pumps on the roof. And these louvers are the air intake that have filters that need to be maintained and cleaned. So to remove those filters, you grab a hold and pull down to unlock it, and then you can remove the filter, wash it, let it air dry, put it back on, and then reinsert. You'll need to do that, especially if you live full-time in your coach. You need to do that every week to keep your HVAC system operating efficiently. Once you're finished, you'll just push the cover back up and the magnetic strips will hold, and you'll need to do that here in the front and the rear of the coach at both of these locations. At the front of the coach is your smoke detector. You can take it off just by turning it counterclockwise and drop it down. It does have a warning label on it. This is the battery compartment area if you need to change the battery. This is the test button. If you press that, you're going to get a tone. That means that it has power and it's functional. If you don't hear the warning tone when you press that button to test, that means you'll need to change the battery on the side here. So you just press, open it up, take the 9-volt battery out, slip a new one in, and then close the door. And then you'll have to put it back up and rotate clockwise. Now we're moving into the kitchen. Above our microwave, we have more storage here. And above the sink, we have a pull-out drawer. You'll find that Newmar includes all your owner's operators manuals in here, and a black case. So take some time and go through your manuals. This is, of course, the Freightliner chassis manual, including your tires. In each Newmar coach is this large case of materials for your plumbing, heating and air conditioning, exterior, electrical, and appliances. The registrations are in here for the warranties and the operator's guides. So go through those and get your registrations done either via the mail or online. On the inside of these cabinets, there is additional information about your coach and your color codes for the paint that was used on your coach. Here at the sink, we have removable sink covers. You can store them under the sink. These louvers allow airflow for heat on both of these louvers. One is an intake and one is an exit for heating. The large drawer just below the cooktop contains all your remotes, extra sets of keys, touch-up paint, and items like your whole house filter wrench and other accessories, awning motor limit adjust. Just above that, we have our cooktop, inductive cooktop. On the opposite side of the cover is a cutting board on both sides. So we can use those as a cutting board here in the kitchen. The cooktop requires a magnetic base for heating. So if you don't have a magnetic pan, you're not going to get any operation from the cooktop. To turn it on, we just press the on off, put our pan there, and we can adjust the setting temperature. If we would like to use this outside, we can take the hand, there's a area here on the side that you can put your hands in, lift up, and then you can unplug it here, take it outside and use it, bring it back, and reinsert. Make sure that it's cooled down before you put your covers back on. The dishwasher is at the base. The dishwasher is in the lock position when it's not turned on, so the door will not open because this would be in the travel mode, turned off. The door stays locked so it doesn't slide open when you're traveling. When you get to your destination and you want to operate it, you'll need to turn it on. That unlocks the door. Now you can open it up, load, unload, and set your wash cycle. If you want to child-proof the settings so that it can't be turned on, we can just go and press the lock here, and now it's locked. Press it again and hold for a few seconds and the lock will go out so you can use it again. When we're ready to travel, just remember we want to lock the door. To do that, we want to turn it off. You can hear it lock. Now the door is locked. So here at the kitchen, we have the controls for the HVAC here on top. This is the temperature control for the heat pumps, and for the ITR Oasis for heating and cooling for this zone in the kitchen living room area. Just below that is our fantastic vent control, which is right here in the kitchen. This has a cover which can be removed, and I'll do that just to demonstrate it. The clips are on the front and back that hold it in. And as I press the blue button on the top, that will turn it on. Now, once it's on, I can adjust the speed settings here, slower or faster. And if for some reason the fan would not come on and the lid won't open, it could be that the rain sensor has moisture on it, and you want to override that because you want the air in this area to exit. To override the rain sensor, there's a rain sensor light indicator here that will come on if we press and hold the down arrow for 3 seconds. So that's what you would do if for some reason the fan wasn't coming on. It had a little moisture on the rain sensor. Now, you wouldn't want to do that if it was pouring rain, but that's how you override it. Now, to turn the rain sense override back off, same procedure, just press the down arrow and hold it for 3 seconds. To close it, we can just turn the fan back off. The lid automatically closes and fan shuts off. If for some reason the control will not operate the fan and you just want to open it manually, you can. You just take this cover off and go up here to the crank, and you can crank it counterclockwise to open it up. That'll give you a little airflow. There is a small fuse inside of this black insert. If the fan's not operating, that's the fuse you would check. If you need to replace it, just replace it, put it back, turn, push up and turn clockwise to lock it back in place. When you're finished, just close the vent and the fan will shut off. And the lid will close all the way. Just make sure you turn it so that it's tight and closed completely. To put the cover back on, we just line up our latches on the front and the back. You can view them as you go up in through the slots. Once you get them lined up, just give it a firm push and you're locked in place. As we move into the theater seating area, to adjust the seating, there's a small button here for extending and tilting back and then retracting. In the center is a small charging port that you can plug into. We have our cup holders and a storage area here in the center with a sliding drawer that goes back and forth. To my left is the master control for the entire coach for all the functions that are listed here on the home screen for your HVAC, heating and cooling. The AGS is for automatic generator starter. And then, of course, our floor heat for heating the floors, our lighting, turning lights on and off in any room or all the rooms at the same time. And then, of course, our tanks and our TV lift. Similar to the 10-inch panel, we can go to our tanks and we can see fresh gray, black, and LP tanks here. We can turn our water pump on. We can turn our autofill on and top off. Gray is off. Back to the home screen, we can turn our lights on and off, and then back to the home screen again. Our automatic gen starter, we can from this screen or go into setup and set it up for quiet time if we're at a park and we can't have it running at night. And of course our HVAC screen, it's the same as in the 10-inch. We select the room that we want to turn on or off for heating or cooling, and then we go to mode. Once we go to mode, we can choose cooling, heating, or just auto, and it'll select for us. Then we can adjust the temperature to what we want. You might see the little hourglass icon, and that's just the time it's taking for that air conditioner or furnace to come on. before it runs. You have to have the on-off selected. You'll notice when I turn that on, the hourglass comes on, meaning it's getting ready to start. There it turned on, the heat pump is on. But if I want to turn it off, we just press that one. Back to the home screen. We've covered everything except the TV lift, up or down. The windows in the coach all have blinds that operate manually. Here at the end wall, I can open the window by unlatching it and then just lifting up. There is a screen here. I can leave the screen down, then get the fresh air. When I'm ready to close the window, just push down and then lock. So above the theater seating, we have more storage in these 3 cabinets. We have the full window there with the crank out and screens. For the full picture window, we have cranks here that you have to turn to open. Clockwise is open, counterclockwise is closed. On both sides, there's a screen for fresh air. And there are multiple windows that operate the same way in the coach on the end walls and for the main windows. 120 volt outlet, same control for this theater seating on the right side of this armrest. So we're moving into the dinette area. This table lowers and you can make this into a bed. So we'll demonstrate that. There's a locking lever here that we want to unlock to lower the table after we take these cushions out. So to remove these cushions, to lower that down, you have to lift up on the front and then slide these out. Then we want to release the lock lever here, like that, and now the whole table will slide down. So now you want to insert the seat cushions. And then your third cushion that's stored under the bed in the bedroom. And then the reverse procedure to bring the table back up. After the table's up, you want to lock this lever towards the front of the coach to lock. On the bottom of each of the seats is a pull-out storage drawer. Just reach in the top of either side and pull out. So as we move over to the Whirlpool refrigerator, 3 doors, stainless steel. Newmar adds a lock so that you can travel without the doors opening while you're traveling. That lock is right here in the middle of all 3 doors. It's to the left is lock, so now it's all the doors are locked. If we want to access the refrigerator, we have to move that lever to the right. Now the doors will open and close. As you can see here, when you get your refrigerator new, there's a filter, a brand new one for the water filtration. To install that, just take that, open the small access door here, lift up and insert the filter, and then put our door back down. That filters all the water that's coming in to the ice maker and to the water dispenser. There are two additional filters here in this drawer. You can see on the back wall there is a fresh flow filter access port, and that filter is in here. There's another filter for another port here that's just mounted on the interior wall. To turn the refrigerator on, you'll need to press and hold the freezer temp and refrigerator temp button at the same time and hold down, and now the refrigerator's on. And we can go into setting the number of snowflakes. For more snowflakes is colder. So we can go adjust it colder or warmer on either the refrigerator or the freezer. If we change the interior filter, we can go into the settings for the filter here and reset that. There is a fast cool function which will help cool the refrigerator down faster, and this area here has a light. We can turn that light on or off. And of course, this is where the water is dispensed here. To turn it off, it's the same procedure as we turn on. Press and hold the temp buttons on both ends, and now it's off. Before you travel, you don't want to forget to relock the door. Left is lock. Just to the left of the refrigerator is our pantry area, storage. So moving into the half bath, as we look straight in to the bathroom, there's dual cabinet doors here. And behind the doors, we have our 120 volt power source and our 12 volt power source with fuses and breakers. So to have our appliances operate, we want to have the main breaker turned on. Here is our main we want to have on. And then we want to have all the other breakers that you see here positioned towards the right or on. If you see a breaker that is to the left, like say here for the dryer, that dryer will now not function because the breaker is to the left or off. You can turn them off manually if you'd like. Let's say if you were replacing an appliance, you'd want to turn it off before you replaced it, but sometimes they trip. And to reset a trip breaker, it's just a matter of making sure it's all the way to the left and then pushing it back to the right or on. Each one of the breakers has a label that's associated to that appliance. Just looking at the top here is water heater, rear air conditioners, inverters, freezers. All of your appliances are here. Above that are your floor heat mats and the GFCI breakers for those. To test it, you can press the black button, and then to reset it is the red button. On the right side is our 12 volt appliances, or for instance steps or any other 12 volt functioning fan or motor. They're all labeled on the inside of the door here. So for instance, if you had something like your KIB, your wall switch is not working, those are labeled F5. Has a 7.5 amp fuse. You would go to that number here. They're labeled F1 through F20. So F5 is right here. You would pull that out. If it's tripped or blown, you'll be able to see in the middle that it's broken, you could take that out and come over here to our spare fuses, make sure you get one that's the same size, and then put it back in, and then you can test and make sure that that function is working. If you have any that are F21 through F26 that feature or function is off or not working, these are resettable breakers. If they trip, the small center will pop out and you'll need to press it back in to reset it. So these are resettables, and they're also labeled here. The other control here is for your access to the screens. On your touch panel screens, you can connect to them via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. And you'll need to get this app on your smart device or phone. Then you'll be able to view the same information that's on your touch panel, and you'll be able to control those same controls like your TV lift and your lighting, or view your tank settings through this module and Wi-Fi and or Bluetooth. Just below this cabinet is our window. Same crank out with screen. The toilet here in front of me has an auto flush control. The light on the right hand side tells you that it's powered up and ready to go. Just below that is an LED. If the one below it is red, that tells you that your black tank is full and you won't be able to flush here. You can add water to the bowl if it's not full enough just by pressing the blue button, but you have to flush with the other blue button. If you see an amber light below the green one, that's a warning that the tank is about 75% full. So if you do see the amber one, that's also a warning that you need to think about emptying your black tank soon. In this cabinet at the top, you'll see your receiver for your Starlink. There's additional plugs here for your 120 volt outlet. There is a cover plate, an access plate here for satellite prep. So if you take that cover off, you'll be able to connect to your satellite prep, and you can put your receiver in here and plug it in if you'd like. After you remove the cover, you'll find a pull wire that you can connect your conduit cable to and pull that through to your receiver. Below that, we have more storage, and the two louvered vents at the bottom are for heat to come out and circulate. So there is a floor heat in the bathroom that you can turn on. More storage here and here. Of course, our bowl on, off, hot and cold. Our medicine cabinet with mirrors. And our HVAC vent for our rooftop heat pump or air conditioning vent, and the Fantastic vent. The Fantastic vent is just like the one in the kitchen with the same controllers. And this is the heat for that fan down below, along with our ceiling and lighting controls here. So here in the hallway, in the center of your coach, we have your 10-inch touch panel. This is the same type of touch panel that you saw earlier towards the front of the coach. It does the same things, it's just a larger screen. When you touch it, it wakes up and lights up like it is now. And you'll notice here at the bottom the icons of selection. Those can be pressed and then it goes to that screen. So There's the home screen, the automatic generator start screen, the floor heat screen, the HVAC, which is heating and cooling, Bluetooth, and that pairs your phone or your smart device with this panel, so you can actually control it on your phone if you get the app, and your lighting controls. So if I press any one of those, starting let's say with the home screen, that takes me to the home page where I can turn on and off the water pump. When I touch that, you'll notice it turned a dark red. That means it's on. If I press it again, that means the gray is meaning that that switch is off. So anytime you press one of these to turn on and off, it should turn red, and that tells you that it's on. If you press it again, like I said, it will go gray, and that means it's off. These are your tanks, fresh, gray, and black, and they're at 0%, while the fresh is at 5. House battery, chassis battery voltages, and these are your living room and kitchen controls for your lighting. Bedroom, bathroom, and master. We can turn our lights on here, all on or off, and then our TV lifts up and down from the home screen. Then we can go in individually, and we can set our generator to come on at a certain time or at a certain voltage level. So let's say you want to leave the coach, but you want to make sure that your pets stay cool or warm with the heat pump function. You'd want to enable the AGS function and then go into your setup to set the time that they would start. That way, in case you lose power in your coach, the generator will automatically start and still operate those 110 volt appliances. Moving over to the floor heat, it shows front, middle, and back, and these can be turned on here, and then you adjust the temperature here. They're not an actual temperature setting, just a range of low, medium, or high. Moving to the HVAC, it tells us what the inside temperature is and what you want to set it to for the living room. If we want to set the bedroom, we have to press the bedroom. It turns red. Now we can set the bedroom temperature here. Once we set the temperature, we have to select the mode that we want it to operate in. Our next icon over is our Bluetooth. We would use our smart device and follow these instructions from 1 through 7 to connect to the smart device through the Newmar app. And then once we have the app on that device, we would just press this button to pair. You can see the Bluetooth is flashing, and that will pair that device. And then you'll be able to operate through that device all these controls. Our last icon over is the lighting control, and you can select the room individually here, or you can do the master controls for the lights all on or all off. So if you want your automatic generator starter to work and you've traveled to a different time zone than what was originally set on this screen, jump back to the HVAC screen to change the time. Once we're at the HVAC screen, we can go into Setup and we can press Set Time, and we can change the time to the zone that we're in. That way it will match when the generator comes on or should come on for the settings you make, or shouldn't come on for the settings you make at the park, so that you don't have the generator running during the quiet time hours. So we're here at the hallway near the floor. We have the sweep or intervac vacuum system. You'll notice there's 2 different ways that you can use your vacuum. On the left is a door that flips up where you can connect your hose and use the accessories for vacuum and cleaning. This is just a warning label that you would want to remove first that tells you to make sure that you've put the filtration bag in. If you're just using a broom and you're bringing the dust to this area to sweep, you can just flip this door up with your foot, lifting it and sweeping under, and that will take the dust to the vac that's located in the baggage area. With your coach, you have your inner vac accessory bag, and inside the bag are all the accessories, so you can attach that at this location here. And inside you'll find your hose end and your handle where you attach your accessories. So to get started, you just plug it in. And then all you need to do to turn it on and off is just press this button here. If you need help or instructions on how to change the battery in here or how to operate the device, just scan the QR code and you'll get more information online how to use the complete system. If you're going to use the inner vac manually, you can sweep any material here and then just lift this up and you can sweep it in here. When you're done, you just pull the hose out and store it away, but be careful that when you store the hose back in the bag that you don't leave something that might press up against here that would turn it on. So as we move into the bedroom, we have our sliding doors for privacy. Right now they are in the travel position and locked. So to move and close the door here in the bedroom for privacy, we want to unlock the door and slide it over. Just press down. The arrows are showing the direction to push down to unlock and close. As you move it over, the other door catches on the back and then it locks in the closed position here. To unlock it and open it again, just press down and slide back. And now you're in the travel position again. Just beside the door, this is the rear sensor for temperature for your HVAC system. The control here on this end wall is for the slide out, open, and closed. Beside that, we have our closet for hanging clothes. Below that, we have the audio-visual cabinet and connections for satellite if we have that for the TV. That plug is labeled Blu-ray DVD on this one. Additional storage in these drawers. In this closet is the safe. The safe has a key. The key will unlock it manually, and the key code is in your operator's guide for your safe, but you can reset your own number so that it's individual and one that you can remember. Below that, we have more storage. And the window is an emergency exit window. To exit out, just follow the instructions here. Basically is just pushing this handle down, rotating, and then pushing the window out, and then removing the screen to exit out. So then just put the screen back. And then the handle rotates underneath. Lift up to lock. At each nightstand, there's a 120 volt outlet. You can plug things in to charge the USB and USB-C ports. There's storage underneath with the storage above. There's an access here in case you needed to plug something in and bring it down to this area, like maybe a CPAP machine. You could put those lines going up and over to plug into the 120 volt outlet there or here. At the top, near the head of the bed, is another LCD capacitive touch control. You can operate all the lights and all the functions of the coach just like on the other panels. Just beside that, we have a passenger side security light control on and off. And these storage areas are just like those on the opposite side. And the nightstand is the same with cabinet space underneath. The HVAC system for the rooftop air conditioners comes through these louvers just like on the front. They also pull down the same way on magnets so that you can access and maintain and clean your filters. There's a CO2 detector here on the roof, not a smoke detector, that's in the front. This one, just pull down to check battery or push to test here in the center. So underneath the bed, there is additional storage, and to access that, we can just lift at the front. You can see our ladder is here for the front bed, but we can put additional things in the storage area here. The reason there are two small holes here, these panels can be lifted up. There's a couple screws that hold them in. You can lift those up to access the motor and wiring below. So as we enter the rear bath area, there's a pocket door here, and it's in the travel position now and it's locked. So to close that for privacy in either room, just push down the same as the other slider doors to unlock and just slide it over and it will lock in this position or closed. To put it back in the travel position and open, just press down to unlock and slide it open. So we have a cabinet here for storage beside the shower. Moving over to the shower, the door has a lock here. We want to make sure that if we're traveling that is locked. This is in the unlocked position, either up or down. So now we can open the shower. There is a skylight in the shower. So we're in the shower now, and the controls are basic to most showers, other than Newmar adds these two control dials, indicator and dial. This is called an aquamizer. This aquamizer helps save water out of your fresh tank. In other words, when you first turn your shower on, it's cold water. So if you want to save that cold water and have it go back in the fresh tank without coming out of the shower or shower handle, you can recycle it just by turning this handle to the recirculate. Once you do that and you turn the water on here, it won't come out. It's actually going through this indicator and back to the tank, the fresh tank. You're saving water, but it's cold and this is blue. So once it starts to get warmer, this starts changing colors to an opaque kind of a white color. It's called a magic mushroom. But once this changes color from the dark to the light, then we can rotate this from recirculate over to on, and the water will be warm. After the shower is complete, we just turn off the water like we would normally. But that is here as an indicator of when the water's hot and when we would want to go from recirculate to on. This is the control to operate in or out for the water to go through the shower or the handle. Just a quick note on the recirculating valve. You'll have it over on the recirculation and wait until this changes colors, and then you can take your hot shower. If you turn this off and you forget to turn this back, or you had it there and you turned it to the recirculate and you are on city water fill or autofill, that's going to allow the water to go through and fill up and eventually overflow your tanks. So just remember, don't leave this on recirculate. Turn it over to the left, which would be on to shower, and make sure and leave it there until you're ready for your next shower. That way you'll make sure you won't overflow your fresh tank. Once we're finished in the shower, you want to make sure and close the door and lock it. We can do that from the inside or from the out here. Just beside the shower, of course, is our medicine cabinet, sink. Below that are your storage drawers here. Cabinet space. And you'll notice I'm standing on another access cover. This will open to the engine. To do that, we want to remove this cover. It's clipped in place. So we grab a hold of the side and pull. Once we move that out of the way, there's a plug here, and that's for the floor heat plug. We want to unplug this, and we'll have to take this cover and lift it up after we remove these two black plugs and two screws. Then we can remove this cover so that service can access the engine for any type of maintenance. When we're finished, put the cover back on, plug the cord back in, store the cord back to the side, and then put our door cover back on. Make sure to match or note that there's clips on the top here and here and on the side, so you want to rotate it so that they all line up. So once you get the clips lined up, that's when you want to close it. This cabinet is for the washer and dryer. The top is the dryer. The dryer settings are for timer and temperature. For the washing machine, all the settings are here and they'll display here. This is for your soap and fabric softener dispenser. And you'll see there's a little notice that we put on to make sure that you remove the outside drain cap as you're doing laundry. That water that's exiting out of the washing machine is going to go into the gray tank, and it's going to fill it up, especially if you do more than one load of laundry. So you want to make sure that the tank has a way to let the water out. So you want to make sure that you're hooked up to the sewer and that your gate valve is open so the gray tank can just drain out the water that's coming out of the wash. So the toilet is a Dometic toilet, just like in the half bath. That control is the same. It's located here on the wall. Just above the toilet is our emergency exit door. So if in the event of an emergency and we needed to exit the coach out of the rear, we have the handle and the lock here. So this is the deadbolt lock and this is the handle lock. So to open the door and get out, we'd have to unlock both of these. So lock and unlock, and then the door lock here, lock, unlock, and lock. Once we get the door open, we can remove this panel, just grab a hold of this panel, lift it out of the way, and you'll notice a ladder that's Velcroed in place. So if we open this up a little further so that it's perpendicular, we can release the Velcro and just let the ladder drop down. Now I can exit out of the coach, just step over the toilet. To replace the ladder back in its original position, just lift and it telescopes back. And then you can use the Velcro. And put our cover back on. So once we have stored the ladder and closed the door, we want to deadbolt again and lock. So here at the outside of the coach, if we want to access the front hood area, we'll have to release the hood latch and pull this lever towards us. So you grab a hold, pull. That will release our hood lock. Now we can lift to open. So now we have full access to all of the items in this compartment. We'll just start from the right here and go over them. You'll notice a red spigot handle here. This is connected to that red line that goes back to the heating system so that you can have hot water if you need to do some rinsing or washing of your coach. To do the winterizing, there is a lever here that you could open, and then the water in this line would drain out, and then you would go through your winterizing process. You've got your air horns beside that, your street horns above us here. This filter is for the diesel fuel that goes to the ITR Oasis. The diesel burner requires this filter, and it needs to be changed every year. So keep that in mind. Just above that is an air connection. You can connect an air hose here, and if the engine is running or had been running and there's air in the tanks, you'll be able to use that air to fill up inflatables or your tires. Just to the left of that is, of course, your Cummins generator. The Cummins generator can be turned on and off outside here just by pressing this button down. To start, it's priming and preheating. And then to stop, just press down. This is your oil fill and coolant fill here. There is a light in this compartment. Just beside the light is the HVAC heating and cooling system just for the cockpit area. So the refrigerant charge that is for the cooling is noted here, what that charge is. Over towards the left and the bottom is the reservoir tank for your jacks. To check the level, there is a twist off cap here with the dipstick, so we can check our level. if we need to, go ahead and add right there at the same place. And when we're done with servicing in this area, we can just close this, turn our light off, and close. All the way at the top of the cap front here is the marker lights and front camera. As you move down the windshield, you'll see your mobile eye here. And again, you can turn that to different settings on your glass dash. Your wipers, this area right here in the center at the base is for your radar detection, for your adaptive cruise, and your collision mitigation system. Fog lights, headlamps, turn signals, marker lights. Moving over to the passenger side, these mirrors, even though you can adjust them from the inside in the driver's seat, if there's not enough adjustment there, you can move the arm to adjust, or you can move this mirror and rotate or tilt just by loosening these 3 Allen head screws and then tilting it or turning it and then retightening. If there's not enough view or adjustment, you can actually take this plug out and loosen that bolt that goes up to the arm, and you can rotate the arm where you want, then tighten it and put the cap back on. Below that is the side view camera. When you turn on the turn signal towards the passenger side or making a right turn, this camera will come on, same as the other side does for the driver. That way you can see what's in your lane when you're making a turn. So we're here at the entrance door, and if you notice, when we close the door, the steps go in. When we open the door, the steps will come out. The step override switch makes the steps stay out, and we'll show you how that works. So if we open this door or close, the steps go with the door. So we're going to open it and hit the step override switch. Now when we close the door, you'll notice the steps stay out. So that makes it a little easier if you're parked and camping, that the steps just stay out while you're going in and out of your coach. This door has 2 latches. Even though it looks like it only has one, the latch is built here so that it can close a little tighter or a little softer. The way that works is a soft close like this is only going into the first latch. That's the way you could close the door if someone was inside taking a nap or sleeping. You wouldn't want to slam the door. But if you're going to travel, you don't want the soft close because it's not completely flush. Even though it's closed and it's sealed, it's not completely closed where you might hear air noise. So to put it in the second latch, you want to close it firmly. Now you can see there is no gap as far as being flush. It's completely flush, and the door is closed for travel. The keys or the key fob or the door handle can lock or unlock the doors. Now, the deadbolt can only be locked or unlocked from the outside here, but the handle lock can be locked or unlocked with the key, with the fob, or with the handle. So let's show you how to do that. If we were just going to use the keys, we can unlock the door handle. So that's unlock, locked. We can use the handle to unlock the door by using the entrance door code, which is 123441. When you get your coach new, they're all that number. Now that unlocks it. So we can use the key, we can use the handle, or if we want to unlock or lock the door, it's labeled here entry lock, entry unlock. So lock, unlock. So you have 3 ways to lock and unlock your door. Actually, there's 4. If we open the door, you can lock your door from the inside before you leave, or when you're inside, just by pressing this red handle lever down. That's your lock for this door handle, which is the bottom one. The top one is your deadbolt. And that one can be the key or inside. It doesn't have the ability to use the key fob or the handle. To close the screen door independent of the door, you can do that. If you just want to get some fresh air, just press this down and you can close the screen here. There is a pull-down screen that we should pull down before we close it. It has a small snap. Now our screen door is ready to close. There is a lever that presses this down from the inside, so you can leave this closed and open it from the inside or the outside here. We talked a little bit about how to change this code. The code that you get is 123441 to unlock the door. Newmar also uses that same exact code to unlock the baggage doors. You can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 2, and you hear the baggage doors unlock. So 1 is the door, 2 is the baggage doors. But you need to change that when you get your coach and set your own number by pressing the small button on the side of the column that you saw earlier in the video. Come out here. This will be flashing and it will be making a tone. Enter your new 5-digit code twice, and then you've got your own code set. Write it down. Don't forget it. Above the door is the door awning that can be opened and closed from the inside in the driver overhead. Have our patio light switch here as you enter the door, and then of course your window for the passenger. So the door awning can be controlled in the overhead with the manual switch, but to control the main awnings, the patio awnings, the front and the rear, there's 2 of them. And as we showed you earlier, in the overhead, they can be controlled there or with this remote. The channels and the numbers are the same. If you're on 0, both will extend at the same time if you just press out. And if you need to stop, if you have something that's, at a certain area here where you don't want to open it past a certain spot, you can just press the stop at any time. Or again, you can press out again or in, and they'll both go. Now, if we want to stop and just do one, we can go to the channel 1 and just do 1 at a time. Stop, change to channel 2, which is the rear one. We can go out. Now we're operating the rear one only. So we can stop that one. There is a lighting LED switch. If we press that, the lighting will come on. The lighting will come on for the number of the awning that we're at. If we're at 0, of course, and we press the lighting, they'll come on as well, or off. So if we go back to the other channel and turn our lights on or off, then go back to 0, they can both be in sequence. So now they both come on at the same time and off at the same time. So they have a built-in feature for wind. If it's really windy out and they're moving, there's a sensor that will automatically close the awning. It's called a shake sensor. We can demonstrate that. The shake sensor will close the awning in windy conditions, but if it's rain, we recommend that you close the awning before the rain starts because they don't have a wet or rain sensor. And if it's a downpour rain, it might be too much that it could collapse the awnings. So to close, we just go to channel 0 and we hit in, and we can store the awnings. If you take a look here in the middle of the awnings, you can see the motors, and this small adjustment tool can be used for the amount of close that it makes. So if either awning over time has the fabric that stretches a little, you might need to make an adjustment so that it closes completely. Or this tool can be used for some reason the awning motor might fail, or if there's no power and the awnings need to be moved, closed, or opened, you can take this tool up at the top in the center of either one, insert it, and then rotate it, and you can move the awning manually. So those are your adjustment, emergency close tool, adjustment for the amount that it closes or opens, and then this is, of course, the remote to control it. Okay, so as we move back behind the front wheel, we have our door for our fuel fill diesel, our marker light below that, and of course our slide out with our slide topper. The slide topper fabric extends when the slide out is opening and it retracts automatically, so we don't need to worry about the fabric on that. The only thing I'd like to mention is that if you're extended and you're near trees, if you have a limb or a branch that's slightly underneath, be sure and remove that before you close the slide out. Our first compartment door going back is storage. You'll notice there's some tile here. Those are the same tile that are in your coach from the same lot number. So if you needed to replace the tile, they'd match in color. We have a 12-volt plug here, and for the 120-volt outlet, if you had a basement freezer, you could plug them in there. Our next compartment back is a slide tray. This is your inner vac, accessories, hoses. This is the air hose that you can connect to the auxiliary air to either air up your tires or other inflatables that comes with the coach. This is the entertainment center access door. It locks and unlocks with the purple key. It has a Bose speaker. The Bose speaker can be connected to another smart device. If you Bluetooth it, you can use the speaker to play music here, or the TV. The TV can be pulled out and adjusted just by grabbing a hold here and then turning it to where you like. When you're ready to store it, just put it back. There's a magnet. The magnet will hold it in its place. Just to the side here, there's a 120-volt outlet with USB and USB-C charger ports. Our next compartment going back is another slide tray. Open and close is manual. You can connect your accessories, hose and vac right here if you'd like to sweep anything outside. Just make sure that you've got the bag installed before you use it. That's what this warning label is here for. These are the slide out controls here and here. This is for the dual motor, and that's for the bedroom. This is your camera, high definition camera system that displays on the front dash, and each camera is labeled here. Those two white control boxes are for the patio awnings that we looked at for the Girard. If for some reason the remote control or the one in the front overhead at the driver's seat doesn't work, there are some small buttons on the bottom of each one of these. If you press it, you'll hear, if I press that, these red lights obviously show that they're powered up and ready. They're actually plugged in right here to 120 volt because the motors on those patio awnings operate from shore power. So you'd have to have your coach plugged in, or your inverter has to be turned on for these to be powered up and to make your awnings work. But if you press the open button, you can hear and you can see the awning is opening. So I can operate the awnings right here. The center button stops it, and then the button towards the inside will close. So just remember that. You can open and close the awnings right here from the outside if you'd like in this compartment. Just above this compartment door, we have our side view camera, marker light, window for the bathroom, and security light. Our next compartment back is the lighting control panel and relay control panel board. You'll notice an LED light is lit up here. If we take this panel loose, I'll show you quickly what the boards do and how they're labeled. So if you have any questions on it, you can look yourself. So after you remove these, this panel can be moved to the side. And each light function is labeled. The first one here is dinette wall. So if the dinette wall light was turned on, a green LED light, just like this one, would show up right beside that wire. Bath vanity, same way, if that light was on. These are FET boards, field effect transistor boards. There's no relays in these boards. The relays are in these boxes, which are labeled to what they operate. These operate the generator. This operates the ITR Oasis. And this is the panel control board for your touch panels, and it reads out and displays what it receives for power inputs, for instance. And then it sends a command back to operate those appliances or devices. The plug at the top here is connected to your 120 volt. So when your shore cord's plugged in, this has power, and this is going down and telling this board that you have power available coming in the coach. So leave that one plugged in. When you're finished viewing here or looking at any of these lighting controls, this panel should be put back and then these screwed in. In our second to the last compartment on the passenger side is storage. And this, of course, goes into the engine compartment, so it's open. This compartment is also open. This is our battery compartment and fuses. These fuses are the chassis fuses, and this is our battery disconnect for the two chassis batteries. If this is turned on, we'll be able to operate all of the instruments on the dash. If this is turned off, we won't have those functions. If you're storing your coach, you should turn this switch to the off position to maintain or to save the power in those batteries, because there's always a slight drain from the ECMs in your coach. So we're here at the back of the coach, and as you look at the top of the rear cap, you'll see the marker lights, and as you move down, the third brake light and the camera. Our engine compartment has a handle here, so if you put your hand here to hold and then release or pull down the lever, you can open this compartment door and access your engine oil dipstick and fill, along with your transmission dipstick and fill, our power steering fluid and a dipstick. If you can't see the fluid, you can check it on the dipstick. This small access panel is for our coolant fill, and you can see the coolant level here. Do not open this if the engine has been running or is warm. Wait and open that when it's cooled down to fill. This, of course, is the access for mechanic diagnostics, and this is for your air filter indicator. If this indicator when the engine's running is in the red zone, you'll need to change your filter, your engine filter. If you've recently had it changed and it's still in the red, that might be an indication that the louver vent in the top corner of the cap on this side might be blocked. So if you've got leaves or any debris there, clean that off and keep it clean. Otherwise, you're going to see this diaphragm, the yellow, up in the red area because it can't pull air into the engine. To close, we just grab a hold of the top here, pull down, close. We have our toe plug here, our Bargman plug, and Air Force One. So we have our brake lights here. Our light in the center is for reverse. We should check those before we travel and make sure they're working on both sides, along with our third brake light. Marker light, storage compartment, cord reel compartment. Inside the cord reel compartment, we have our transfer switch, which transfers where we're using power from. The gray comes from the generator in the front of the coach. The black one goes in the same box. And then this device chooses where we're going to take the power from. That's why it's called a transfer switch. It transfers from one to the other, always giving priority to the generator. So if my generator is on and running, it's going to be using or transferring the power reception over to the generator. The generator or the shore cord power is illuminated here on this monitor panel. This monitor panel shows right here the power that's coming in. It also shows any faults, and you can scroll through the screen here, up or down, to see the line voltages and view the faults. This is the cable connection for park cable. If you have park cable connection, this is where you'd plug it in. And view cable on your TV, but make sure that you've turned off your over-the-air Winegard antenna receiver and scan your TV for cable channels. There is a cover panel here on the back. This is removable. There's a Velcro that's on both sides. So if we pull that Velcro loose, on the back side of the panel is a key for all the fuses that you see. So if we had, for instance, the entrance step was not working, That's fuse number F8. So we would go to F8 here, pull F8 out, or if F8, like, let's see, F8 is this fuse here, but if it was this one, it may just need to be reset. So if it's one of the smaller fuses, you can pull it out and replace it. If it's one of the larger silver ones and that center is popped out towards you, just press it to reset. But all of the fuses in this compartment are labeled what they are and what they control. So if you have something that's not working outside or inside, you can come back here and look at this printout and see which one it is, and then you can go to that number and check it, reset it, or replace it. When you're finished, you can just turn it over, Velcros on both sides, and then just put it back in place. If you're ready to store the cord, just unplug it, and this is the cord reel motor. Our next compartment forward is the DEF tank and the storage compartment for our sewer hose. This is not a closed compartment, so you're going to have dust here in this compartment from moving down the highway. Before you extend your slide room, when you get to the campground, you want to walk around your coach and check this gap, which is called the reveal gap. Make sure it's about a 3/16 of an inch. If you see that this gap is too close or touching, you'll need to move your coach to a more level area. And always have your coach on air or air ride suspension before you run your room out. Then after you run your room out, then run your jacks down to level the coach. So this compartment is for our water bay compartment. It has all the controls to add water to the water tank, the freshwater tank, and it has the controls to dump the effluent out of the gray tank or the black tank. So if we look here on the right-hand side, we see we have the fill hose. Just pull that fill hose out. It's called the supply. This is city water and tank fill connection. You don't want to have a connection that's more than 60 psi. So we'll pull this out. We'll connect it to our water supply. This is the filter that is the whole house filter. So before we turn the water on, we'll want to make sure this filter is inserted here. We do that by removing the clip here and then rotating this open, dropping the filter in, and then putting the filter back on and the clip back in. Once we have the filter there, all the water that goes in the hose comes up here through the filter and then goes into our house, and we can use it to fill our freshwater tank. Remember to remove this filter if you're going to winterize the coach. And we'll get to winterizing a little bit later. But if you want to save this filter, then you don't want to have it installed when you run the winterizing solution through your lines in the coach, because you won't be able to use that again. Since we're here, this switch, if let's say we pull this hose out too far, we can reel it in just a little bit here. I want to show you that before we move forward. There is a heating device. This is the heater core and fans that will keep this compartment warm in the wintertime if we're camping in the cold. The ITR Oasis is what sends hot fluid, boiler antifreeze, through this core, and there's two fans on the back that blow the heat out. In order to keep this at about 37 to 40 degrees, we want to make sure the ITR Oasis is turned on to furnace mode, and then the switch on the left-hand wall side here will sense the temperature, and when the temperature drops cold enough, that will engage and turn the fan on here. And keep your water tank, your gray tank, and your black tank warm so they don't freeze. The sewage rinse is here, and the sewage holding tank are all in a line here with this gate valve. So we know that this is our sewage gate valve, and over here is our gray tank valve here. So to empty out either tank, we'll open this compartment. And we'll lift this out, take this off, connect our hose, run it to the drain for the sewer. And typically we want to empty the sewer first and then follow with the gray. The reason that we do that is the gray water will help rinse out the hose. When we're finished, we can rinse the sewage tank by putting a supply for water here. It's a hose connection that will send water into the sewage tank and will spray the walls, and then that water will come out of this gate valve here and into the drain. When we're finished draining either tank, we push the gate valve closed, whether it's the black or the gray. Then we would want to remove the hose and put the cap back on the main drain. This is our freshwater tank fill. There's a freshwater tank, you can see it, it's a white tank straight back. If you had a flashlight, you'd be able to actually see the water level as you fill the tank. To fill the fresh water, we'd have our hose connected to the supply, and then we rotate this lever to the manual fill. How do you know the tank is full? You can look at your gauges inside and watch the level go up, or you can wait until it actually is full to the point where it's starting to come out, and you'll see it starting to drain out of the overflow or overfill. Then we could turn it off or to autofill. If we leave it in the autofill, we can turn our autofill on any of our panels, and then it continues to fill the tank as needed. As you noticed here, the autofill must be enabled at the monitor panel inside the coach. Our water pump is here. When it's on, the LED is on. You can manually turn it on here or on your panels inside. Now we're going to talk about winterizing. This is the winterizing pickup hose. The instructions for winterizing are right here. If you look up here, everything is spelled out. To use the winterizing kit, you drain your freshwater tank, water lines, and appliances. How do you drain them? Right here. Here's your low point drains. There's another low point drain labeled there for the fresh tank. So you would open these two and your fresh tank. There's a valve on that one. Open that. Let all your water drain out. You want to remove the cartridge here in the whole house filter. Close valve A, open B, that's here and here. And then you want to insert this hose into the container of potable antifreeze, and then turn on the water pump, which is here, and that will start to pull up the antifreeze into the water pump, and it will send the antifreeze into all of the appliances and sinks, and then you turn those appliances on, whether it's the washing machine or the dishwasher or any device. We want to make sure that the antifreeze solution is going into all of those areas and all of the lines, hot and cold. Turn all the faucets on, hot and cold. Once all of the lines are filled with the antifreeze, then we can turn off the water pump. We want to make sure and flush the toilets. When that's done, then we would reverse A and B and put the cap back on here, and then we're finished winterizing. There is a small screen that is located here. If it catches any debris that's coming in the water, you might notice that screen would need to be cleaned. That can be turned counterclockwise, taken off, cleaned, and put back on. So if for any reason you're not getting water pressure, or if the winterizing isn't going through, check your screen. When you're finished, put your cap back on. And to stow your hose, we showed earlier, just press cord reel, retract. The interior light here will go out when the door is closed. In our next compartment, we have storage area here, and we have our hydronic heat and hot water heater. This is built by International Thermal Research. It's called an ITR Oasis, and this is the Chinook model. To turn it on and have control on the panel inside, you first have to turn the power on here. So if this switch is turned off, you won't be able to turn it on in the inside panel. So we leave that on, then we can turn it on and off inside. The lights here for the function that's running will be displayed in green here, but the bottom ones from the igniter down may go red. If they go red, that's a fault that needs to go to service. If the green ones are flashing green, they need to go to service. When the burner is running, you can view through this window, you can see the flame inside. At the top is a Hobbs meter, tells you how many hours are on it. If for some reason the interior control panel isn't giving you the functions to turn it on and off, but you're kind of in an emergency situation and you need hot water or you need heat, Newmar includes the manual touch panel that you can plug in right here to this cord here at the bottom, and you can operate this for heat or hot water manually right here with this touch panel. All of the controls go through this silver box. If any of the lights on the front of this silver box are red, you can see now they're green. That is a likely fuse replacement issue. And to view or check a fuse, this cover panel can be removed just by pulling the cover off like this. There's fuses on this side and this side that line up with the LED light that might be red. So if you see one of these that are red, pull the fuse out. If it's bad, replace it, and your light should go green. All of the functions are displayed here, so you'll know what is operating when it's green or what might have failed when it turns red. When you're finished, put this back on. In our next compartment forward, we have our slide tray that we showed on the opposite side. It opens manually this way. You'll notice a blue water line here. This is the water line that goes up into the kitchen for the refrigerator. If we need to turn that water line off to the refrigerator, we can just rotate this to off position. Or if we need to shut the spigot off, up at the front, there's another rotating handle right there. We can turn that red line off that goes up for the hot water spigot at the firewall in the front. So between the frame rails, you'll see the blue inverter. This is a Victron inverter, and that needs to be turned on. You can either turn it to on or inverting, or you can turn the switch into the opposite direction for charging only, which would be like if you were storing the coach. If the inverter is turned on, the overhead switch panel will be operational and work so that you can operate and view what's happening with your inverter from the inside. If you don't have it turned on here in between the frame rails, you won't be able to use the overhead control. In our next compartment, we have our batteries. The batteries are on a tray that can be pulled out for service. Just lift the pins out on both sides. And you'll notice they're a little dusty because this is not a sealed compartment. We don't want the batteries in a sealed compartment because they need airflow. And now we can service the batteries. These batteries have fluid in them. You can add distilled water to keep the level up. You want to maintain your batteries, checking the fluid level frequently, especially if you're using your coach a lot or in your hot weather environments. From the fuses going into the coach, there are coach fuses. So if you have good battery power, but you don't have any power in the coach, those are the fuse covers that need to be removed, and the fuses can be checked and or replaced if needed. If you remove a battery and you need to put the wiring back on, but you forgot how, that schematic is right here on the end wall for your reference. When you're finished, slide the tray back, and lock the pins. This fuel door is the same diesel fill for the same tank as the other side. Marker light. Our last compartment forward on the driver's side is for all of the cockpit functions and fuses, and for the chassis power functions and fuses in the cockpit. These are all labeled and have the name beside the fuse. And if any of the LEDs turn red, that LED is telling you that that fuse needs to be replaced. Just look on the left here, match the right fuse number, which is the size, and replace that fuse. That's easy. If these fuses on the chassis side need to be replaced, you would have to take the cover off by lifting these tabs on both the back and the front. Flip the cover towards you to view the name of the device, and then you can see which fuse or relay that it is, and then replace that one. When you're finished, just put the cover back on and clip into place. This is the ECM. These are your battery connections coming from your batteries. This is the living room 120 volt connection for the floor heat.